Good afternoon and welcome to Devils in Red 59. My name is Steve, and today we are going to be talking about players backing Michael Carrick. Are we in talks with any other potential managers, or is it just Carrick? Are we talking to other transfer targets to bring in the summer? And I've been asked a question, and would I answer it? Do I watch other football outlet channels? And if so, who do I watch, and which order would I watch them in reference to rating them? And obviously, we've got more information on our T-shirt competition for the month of May. So we'll start off today. It's come out from Ben Jacobs that quite a few of the Manchester United players now are backing Michael Carrick for the manager's job. Apparently, Bruno Fernandes, Harry Maguire, obviously Luke Shaw, Cunha, and quite a few others are now starting to come out publicly and say that they like Michael Carrick's training methods and his backroom staff training staff, and they believe that he sets the right aroma around the club, not only at board level but within the team itself and the training, and players really seem to be happy with him and like what he's doing. So obviously more and more players are coming out and backing Carrick for the job. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Do you feel that the players should have an input into who the next manager's going to be, or do you think they should have no say at all? Personally, it's like they say, if you've got an happy camp and you're starting to get performances out of people, why change it? So for me, that would put Carrick at least in strong contention for a good interview for the job. And I think he's deserved it if he gets us Champions League football, which it's now looking very much like. Um, I mean, obviously, on Sunday of this week, we have got Liverpool coming to Old Trafford to play Manchester United. And realistically, if we get a draw 1 point, that will cement our position in for the Champions League. But I think the players will be up for it. They know what's at stake, and I think they'll actually go for a win. I mean, if we can get the win, that'll put us on about 63 points, and that totally cements it. And I think it would also cement third position because obviously the higher up the league we are, the more rewards we get for that financially. So every position counts, because that extra money can hopefully go into the transfer kitty. Um, but obviously, going back onto the players backing Michael Carrick for the job, as I said, an happy camp is worth a lot. Now, obviously, Michael Carrick's come in. He's took over a side that's not his, and obviously he's got the best he can get out of individual players at the moment. Where the likes of Amrin couldn't do it, and Ten Hag before them, the players that was involved at Sleugh with Ten Hag, he couldn't do it. And people talk about Michael Carrick having been sacked by Middlesbrough and not being experienced enough and this, that, and the other. But you look at Vincent Company, as we've mentioned before, finished his career, went to Burnley, brought them up into the Premiership, went down the first year, and then after that, he got snapped up by Bayern Munich. Well, look what he's doing at Bayern Munich. They're a bigger club, they've got more money to spend, so obviously the quality of the players that get bought into that club are a lot better. So that helps the likes of Vincent Company, and I don't realistically see that being any different for Michael Carrick. If INEOS this summer bring in the right players to add to the squad that we've got. I mean, I know we've got people going out like Casemiro. It's highly reported that Ugarte's going to be going. It's likely that Xerxes will be going. And as reported today by Ben Jacobs, Manchester United are in for a big summer. Now, there's a good strong possibility that the defensive line is going to be looked at, and there may be defenders being bought in, whether that's two new centre halves or a centre half to back up the fact that Delite is injury prone, and Martinez, and even Harry Maguire. But I think Harry Maguire's done well the last few months, but you can't always rely on Harry going into a situation next season of 2 games a week. So it may well be a position that Manchester United are looking at bringing in another centre half, as well as maybe a left back, because obviously, again, with Luke Shaw, is he going to be able to stand up to 2 games? And we don't know how Dorgu's going to be used next season, whether he's going to pick up where he was when Carrick come in the first 3 games, doing very well as a left winger, and he might be used in that role more, or is he going to be one of two left backs to help cater for the fact that we're playing 2 games a week? But again, if Luke Shaw gets injured, then you're down to Dorgu, and if he picks up a red card or something, then there's no left back. So again, a left back may be something that we look at, albeit, you've got Mazraoui that can play on the left, you've got Dallo that can play on the left, as well as both those players being right-sided players mainly, but they can play on the left. So obviously, they may not look at the left back, but as reported by Ben Jacobs today, he feels that it's going to be a big summer for Manchester United, and they may well be looking at the defensive line in its entirety. And we already know that obviously Casemiro and Ugarte is going, so that's just going to leave Mainu, that's now agreed everything, and it's just as and when he signs his new contract. So even though it's reported that 2 midfielders will definitely come in, it's also started to be reported that it could well be 3, as well as a left winger and maybe a backup number 9, or somebody that can lead the number 9 for Sesko to actually learn off. Now, in reference to potential targets, obviously at the moment, as it's been reported, um, it's not really the time where Manchester United can start approaching players too strongly. In reference to Elliot Anderson, apparently he is still our number 1 midfield target, but as he is in a relegation battle, albeit it's now looking that they've created a decent enough gap, and I think if they get another draw or another win, that'll cement their survival, and that may well be the time at the likes of Manchester City and Manchester United physically approach Nottingham Forest to try and thrash out a deal. It's still not a foregone conclusion that Elliot Anderson will go to Manchester City, as reported by Ben Jacobs. United are still in with his shout. And I believe that, ongoing conversations, even from Manchester United's point of view, with Elliot Anderson's agent, has also took place fairly recently. So I don't think we're out the game by any means. I mean, as we've said before on previous videos, the transfer targets, they change day to day. 1 minute we're in for somebody, and then the next day that person is not coming to us because of this, that, or the other. So and again, another day after that, they're back in the thinking again. So I don't really think we're going to get a full picture of who we're approaching and talking to, at least until the middle of May, when Nottingham Forest can maybe look at it and think, well, we've survived. Um, there's interest with some of the Tottenham players, I believe, subject to whether they get relegated or whether they stop up in the Premiership. So I think a lot of clubs at the moment are sort of saying, look, go away until we know what the situations are going to be with our club as to whether we're in Premiership or being relegated. So I think Manchester United have to respect that, the same as we would obviously want other clubs to respect our situation. In reference to trying to qualify for the Champions League, we wouldn't want any unnecessary distractions with talk of somebody coming in for one of our players at the moment, especially if they're a first team starter, because obviously that can unsettle the individual, and it can also start unsettling the side itself if they think, for argument's sake, Bruno's going to be leaving. So I think all those conversations will quite naturally take place, as we go through May. But as I say, with Michael Carrick now starting to get the backing off the players, I think that strengthens his case even more. But obviously, reported again by Ben Jacobs, Manchester United are still going to go through a process of interviewing other managers, albeit a lot of those managers now are starting to dwindle off the list. But there are managers still there that are gettable. The Bournemouth manager, I don't think he at the moment is prepared to speak to anybody until the season's finished. Enrique, I know at PSG would be everybody's favourite, and again reported by Ben Jacobs today, he believes that Enrique's situation with PSG is all but done, bar signing. Personal terms and that I think are all agreed and everything else, but I think it's PSG will probably wait for the Champions League to be played, and then they'll sit down with him and get him to sign the new contract with them. So it's looking like that Enrique's off, but obviously, you've got other managers that's still approachable, and obviously, I don't think they're going to be approached like some players because of obviously the situation they're in with their own clubs at the moment. So again, it's felt that once people have got certain things in place and they know where they are, then obviously those conversations will take place. But personally, I think that Michael Carrick will get the job. And if he does, he'll get my backing, and I hope he gets your backing as well, because I think Michael Carrick can be a good manager, and I think his style of football will change next season once he's able to start bringing in one or two of his own players along. It's going to be a conversation with Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada sitting round the table and saying, well, okay, then these are the ones we're going to go for. Likewise with Elliot Anderson. I mean, until somebody turns round or Elliot Anderson turns round and says, I don't want to come to you, I've agreed to go to Manchester City, then it's very hard for us to move on to our next target, which at the moment is still quite strung on Tonali at Newcastle, because it's felt that it's going to be very difficult for any Italian club to raise that sort of money that Newcastle's going to want to take him back to Italy, albeit he wants to go there. He's a professional football player and he's being paid a lot of money. And obviously, if no Italian clubs can raise that sort of money, then I think he's got to look at clubs that are interested in him in the Premiership or, around Europe, whether it be Germany or Spain or wherever. But obviously, I think Tonali, if he goes, is most certainly going to want Champions League football, regardless of where he goes. So, as I say, until Elliot Anderson says, no, I'm going to Man City, it's very difficult to move on to your others. But Ben Jacobs did say, because obviously different outlets have said, what's happening, what's going on, there's nothing being reported about us approaching players or approaching clubs. And as we've already said, it's very, very difficult, until certain things are sorted out for certain clubs. So obviously, I think we've got to be a little bit patient until that time arrives, and then we'll see who we're going for and how they deal with the situations. Um, and as I say, in reference to the managers, I think that's going to be pretty much the same, because all our main targets, it's quite well published that Thomas Tuchel was our number one from the word go. But obviously, he's signed or signing a new contract to extend with England now, and Ancelotti signed his contract with Brazil. Uh, the PSG manager looks like he's just going to sign a new contract at PSG. So that our manager targets have dwindled right down. I mean, obviously, there's still the likes of Unai Emery at Aston Villa that can be approached, but again, I think Aston Villa want to cement their position in the Champions League, and quite rightly so. You know, they don't want no unnecessary distractions, and obviously, Aston Villa being a Midland club, obviously they've got to put all their concentration into cementing that position, and you know, I think they will get it, and credit to them. You know, so again, players being approached and managers being approached, it's going to take a little bit of time. Albeit Ben Jacobs did say that, albeit it's not published, you know, he believes that Manchester United are speaking probably to hundreds of agents and players to find out what the situations with certain players are, and, you know, whether they'd be interested in coming to Manchester United so that they can sort of finalise a list so it's up and running, ready for when they start making the moves like most clubs. So, as I say, I think we've just got to be a little bit patient on that and wait. Um, I've had a question asked me about do I watch other sports channels in relation to Manchester United, and if I do, you know, what sort of order do I favour them? I do watch other channels on YouTube, and I, I suppose that the end of the day, I'll start with number one and work me way down. I quite often watch the Webby and O'Neill channel. I find those two guys really interesting because they look at a lot of the situations in real time and, you know, discuss it. And I find that a lot of what they discuss and what the answers are to a lot of things is very plausible. So, yeah, I like Webby and O'Neill very much. I'd like to think as my channel hopefully grows in the future that maybe they could appear on my channel, or I could appear on their channel. That would be nice. And then number two, Steve Howson. I quite often watch him. I think he's a really good reporter, you know, and he breaks things down really well and gives you a diplomatic review on things, you know, about what the pitfalls are and what the positives are, and that's a yeah, I like Steve Howson's show. Um, Number three, FUTV. I think his name's Adam. I watch him occasionally. Again, Adam breaks down any situation that he's talking about, whether it's to do with managers or potential transfers or current players, the what's going on in the club, and that I think he breaks things down very well as well. So yeah, I like Adam's show FUTV, and I do watch the Manchester United or the United stand Mark Goldbridge sometimes. I mean, obviously, Mark Goldbridge has an opinion on a lot of things, like anybody else has got an opinion, and he's quite right to be able to have that opinion. But at times, you know, I think with Mark, I mean, I don't know the guy. He's probably a very nice guy, in all honesty. So I don't want to appear to be slagging him off because I wouldn't want to do that. But I do feel at times that Mark comes across with whatever he's talking about that he wants other people to accept what he's saying. And I have noticed sometimes that when people send in a message to him when he's been talking about something, if they don't agree with them, he can get quite boisterous and probably use a bit of bad language towards that person at times. And I don't think that's a good fit. But you know that's the way Mark approaches it, and that's down to Mark to run his own channel the way he wants to run it. The other side of the United Stand, the fan forum, I do quite like that. After a game, and obviously you get the lead up before the game kicks off, and they hand it over to Mark Goldbridge for the watch along. Beth, I find her, for a young lady, I mean, I think she's only about 24 or 25. She's quite knowledgeable. Obviously, she does her research and so forth, so what she talks about is quite good. Kevin and Maud's, I quite like them as well. And obviously Ricky, when he comes on, he's a character but like everybody else, he's got an opinion which he's entitled to, and I think a lot of his opinions are actually good. They're not all good, but most of them are good. But it just seems to me that the other presenters on the United Stand always seem to have a different opinion to actually Mark Goldbridge, where Mark Goldbridge doesn't want somebody. The fan forum show they say the opposite, that they're happy with what's going on with the players. They're not particularly happy with the style of football at the moment, but they believe once some of Carrick's players come in, if he gets the job next season, that hopefully that's going to change more to the Manchester United DNA that everybody talks about, with attacking football played out to the wings and crosses coming in. So yes, I watch the United channel as well. But apart from that's about it. I'm like anybody else, I've watched football and played football since I was 4. I'm 66 now, coming 67 this year. So obviously, I think I know a little bit about football. I don't claim to know everything, but I watch Sky News. I'll get the updates off there. And obviously, I'm like anybody else. I either go, if I can go to a game, I'll go to a game. If I can't, I'll watch it at home where possible. And football's been my life, as I say, over the last 62 years. I've lived, breathed, slept it, and ate it, and all the rest of it. So, yeah, so there we go. That's my sort of interests and what I do outside of doing this video, and the type of things I watch and who I listen to and so forth. Just like to thank everybody that does watch my videos, and I am trying to build up the numbers and build a community, so I'd appreciate it very much if you'd smash a like and share the video, and obviously subscribe. Get into the comments, that's always useful, because if there's any comments come through, I do, sort of look at them and either bring them into my next video or answer them the way I've answered it today in reference to, do I watch other football channels? So if you have got anything, by all means, send it through, but please smash a like and share the video and subscribe. And just to remind everybody, we have got the Devils in Red 59 competition coming up in the month of May, which is now only a day or two away, where the question will be asked on a Friday, and obviously the first 2 correct answers, one will receive a Devils in Red 59 t-shirt, and the second one will wear a Devils in Red baseball cap, and that will be done every Friday throughout the month of May, and questions released on the Sunday throughout the month of May, or the answer, should I say. And then obviously the winning parties will have the t-shirts and baseball caps dispatched out to them free of charge. So again, as I say, I'd like to thank everybody and help out and try and get my channel numbers up, if you wouldn't mind. Smash a like, subscribe, share the video. It's all going to help. And thanks very much, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you.